Hello, friends, and welcome to the Voices of MCC podcast. Our hope is that you will be encouraged in your faith as you hear how MCC beliefs and practices are fleshed out in the daily lives of the members of the Masters Community Church. Privileged today to be hanging out here with Pastor Jared Webb and JC Morrison as we think about jobs and job transitions and what it looks like to trust the Lord in those very sensitive and often trying situations of life. Brothers, good to have you here.
Good to be
Thanks for
here.
having us.
Yeah.
I want to start with Pastor Jared here and just catching up, folks, on your connection to MCC. Many current folks will know you as an elder, but maybe they are just newer to MCC in the last year or two. And though you've been MCC, perhaps the newest of all of our elder team, you've been there at MCC longer than some who are in our church and who will be listening in the future. So catch us up on your connection to MCC and then your leadership among us.
Yeah, I think the family, Melody and the kids and I, have been members of MCC for about 3 years, I believe. Working on 3 years, actually, maybe 4 years now. And yeah, 4 years. And we had visited for a while MCC and then became members. And then I had an internship for a year and then been part of the elder team since early in 2021, so the last year and a half.
And your leadership at MCC, it more officially in the last year and a half, but I could sense even when you first came to MCC, I think it was the spring of 2018, so a
Yeah.
little over 4 years ago, that
Mhm.
you started attending and your desire for the word, your desire to study. We would meet occasionally. We read a couple of books together, met once a month, and you had a
Mhm.
heart to learn, to study, and grow, and we hung out more. And you were taking a couple of classes at MBTS, so we'd see each other a little on
Yeah.
campus. And recall then you're speaking with me just candidly. Hey, Todd, I'm interested in pastoral ministry. I think God's calling me to this in some capacity. And so we talked about the internship at MCC, and you finished that up. And currently, you are leading the prayer ministry. Give folks a bird's eye view at what that is for you.
Yeah. What that entails is anything that touches prayer, whether that be the National Day of Prayer, international prayer for the persecuted church, certain days that we focus on prayer, our 4 seasons that we have at MCC that may have been brought up in other podcasts: discipleship, outreach, fellowship, and then prayer season. My responsibility is to lead prayer season, kind of set the curriculum, set the tone on what it will be taught during that period. So that's really as well as stepping up and leading any special prayer services throughout the year.
I appreciate your service among us in that way and your heart to pray and catch up with people and the weekly prayer bulletin as well, coordinating that, making sure that current needs are made known to folks. And I appreciate your shared leadership, and that is a blessing to our church, has been, and I think it's going to be in very significant ways in the days ahead. And I'm glad to have an opportunity to talk about employment with you and what that looks like and what the Lord's done even
Yeah.
in the last 6 or 8 months. JC, catch folks up on your coming to MCC and your service among us as well.
Sure. Julia and I moved here from Maine in 2019 in August to go to seminary. I was halfway through a master's degree online and decided it was time to come and do school in person. So we moved out here. Pastor Todd, you were the first person we met in Kansas City and on campus, and you quickly invited us to church service, and we were already planning on checking out Masters. because most of you at Masters know that we were interested in foster care, and we're now foster parents. But I had read Pastor Todd's bio on MBTS's website and read about his Until Every Child's Home, or his book that he just released at that point was fairly new. Decided that was going to be a church that we want to check out, and we were there that next Sunday, and we haven't been to another church in Kansas City since. So it was a very quick hook and set on us, and we've been here ever since. And so it's been about 3 years. We probably don't remember exactly when we joined, but it was pretty quickly, probably October or so of 19, I think. But yeah, we've been members almost 3 years now.
It seems like so much longer than that. Maybe just our lives are intertwined together, and that's a good thing. Seems like I've been with you forever. No, it's a blessing, and I do recall that day you walking on campus with Julia, I think Julia's parents, and we began to connect. And I had no idea then that you knew who I was. I was just, here's this couple walking around looking like they don't know where the restroom is, so I got to over there. And so it's so fun to think of what the Lord has done. It really is a blessing. And your consistent praying for people in church and your heart to care for them, your shepherding spirit and leading a small group now is a blessing. Your internship was a blessing to have you teach and give various ministry outlets. And so it's fun to see what the Lord is doing in your family now, and a couple of different job shifts, even the last year here, last 6 months. So both of you have had significant shifts. JC a couple, and Pastor Jared a major one. So I wanted to provide MCC listeners an opportunity to think about God in the midst of looking for new work, and what that feels like, what that is, because there will be people in our church fellowship maybe 6 weeks, 6 years, 10 years from now who are in the midst of, wow, this is a shocker to me or something. And we can point back to this podcast and hopefully they would be encouraged. So Pastor Jared, I want to pick it up with you. Take us to late 2021 and your career with the Kansas City Star. Catch folks up on that, what your service was, and then late 2021 and the developments there.
Yeah, well, my whole tenure at the Kansas City Star, I worked in the advertising department, and I focused on marketing and advertising sales, anything that had to do with selling newspaper advertising into the newspaper, all of our digital solutions. The whole news industry has evolved so much since when I started in 2004 at the Kansas City Star. It's it was a great run. So to pick up, and I worked in many different categories. I worked all the way working with small to medium sized businesses when I first started. I worked the automotive category for a season. I worked in real estate and new home builders for quite a while. And then I finished my tenure at the Star working with our retail grocers and managing a team that focused on 4 markets: Kansas City, Wichita, Fort Worth, and then a very small suburb outside of St. Louis called Belleville in the Illinois area. And then I kind of had an inkling that my position might be eliminated even before I was told officially that it was going to be eliminated, because I knew a certain product that we were doing in Kansas City was going away. They allowed me a look under the hood, if you will, on our P&L, our profit and loss, and there was a lot more loss than there was profit. So I knew that this particular product was going to go away, and with that, I kind of had an idea that my position might go away as well. So I had a head start. And I love the Kansas City Star. It was a great experience. It was a great run, and I appreciate everyone that I've worked with over there over 17 years.
17 years, the same company, is pretty remarkable in our day.
It is,
and
yeah.
and and you are told that you kind of give a look under the hood, but then the the moment that you're
Yeah.
told, hey, this is going to be your last day here,
Yeah.
what began to flow through your mind? What did you think about God at that point?
The first thing that flew through my mind was relief.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is, and I definitely did think about the Lord. And I knew, and what I mean by relief is, see, God knows me. Of course, He knows me better than I know myself. And He had a different place He wanted me to be. And He basically knew, Jared, I know you're not a risk taker. So I'm going to take the risk for you. You're not going to leave this organization on your own. You're going to have something's going to happen for you to leave this organization, and I'm going to make that happen. And basically, that's what happened. Is the position was eliminated. Now, I was extremely blessed. I mean, extremely blessed. The day that I got the news, I got a phone call. Well, actually, it was a text from a dear friend of mine in the organization that said, "Can I call you in 30 minutes?" And I said, "Sure, absolutely." And he gave me a call and he basically ramped me up and gave me a warning. This is what's going to happen. You're going to get an email from HR. And now, this gentleman is a high ranking in leadership within the organization, but he treated me like a friend because we are friends. And he
Hmm.
said, "This is what's going to happen. You're going to get a phone call from HR. This is how it's going to go down. And this is what it's all about." Um, and so I actually, that was a gift from God. I knew it
Hmm.
was. The Lord was speaking to this individual's heart, who is also a believer, and said, I need to reach out to Jared just so he can be softened by this blow, and also to give him a personal heads up on how this is going to go down. And I will never forget that. I really appreciated that conversation that gentleman had with me, and how he shared his heart with me, that I was a great employee, but was a business decision that needed to be made. And when I think about the Lord, um, during this time, Scripture kept on flowing through my head and continues to today. It's out of Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. So that was extremely encouraging. The gentleman that had me on the phone that morning shared that scripture with me. And I knew it already, but he shared it with me and he encouraged me to continue to lean into that scripture while all this was happening. So, yeah, very much continue to dwell on that as I think back on those moments, knowing that this occupation, this run with this particular career with this company is coming to an end. Kept on leaning into that the Lord God has another place for me in His sovereign plan. And that's another thing too. And I know you know this, Pastor Todd. I'm a big sovereignty of God person. I know that everything works together for the good for those who are the called according to His purpose. And what is the good? The good is God's sovereign plan in all things. That is the good. It may not be, we may not think it's good in the moment. We may not think that's very good at all right now for us, but the good is God's sovereign plan. That's what the good is. And all things work together for the good, which is God's sovereign plan, to those whom He loves, called according to His purpose.
That is so cool to think that a fellow believer in your organization reaches out to you and shares scripture. Here's
Yes.
what's coming, and that is the Lord's kindness to
Yes.
you and trying to work that through. So you get this email, you get the end date, clear out your desk by X day or time or whatever. Um, what's going through your mind in terms of new position, new career?
Sure. A lot of prayer, a lot of thought, and I knew that God was calling me back to work with the home build design industry here in Kansas City, the real estate slash home build design industry. That's where my passion is. That's where my heart is. I love our real estate community in Kansas City. I love the home build design, whether that's remodel, new home construction, that whole realm. My experience is marketing. My experience is sales and marketing. So I was just thinking, I want to get back into the home design, build, and real estate community some way, somehow. And I interviewed with several companies. I interviewed with Pella Windows, selling windows to home builders, and that didn't really pan out. I interviewed with Overhead Garage Door Company and was offered a position, but I thought about it and I was like, I don't know. I looked at other stone fabricators and I was like, I don't know. I don't know if this is really where I want to be. So I was blessed also having about a 45-day ramp up between I was officially told that this would be my tenure would be ending and then it ending. There's 45-day gap there. So I was working it. I was looking towards other opportunities. Um, while that date was coming, and then a great opportunity presented itself.
And I want to come back to that in just a moment for you to share more about that. JC, want to turn to you here for a few minutes and share with us about going from graduation to uh, your position and then a new position. You've had a couple here just in the last 6 months, and the one you're currently at, we're all very excited for, and the opportunities before you. So catch us up. You walk graduation in December. No, May. You graduated, so it was your first position change was before then. Catch us up on that.
Yeah. So, excuse me. So we had probably last May. I had been working in missions for the seminary, and I'd been doing it for about a year. It was something that it was a great opportunity. It was a great position, but it was something that was kind of burning me out. Just continually making phone calls and working in the missions. So I began looking for a new position, hopefully in the seminary, and I got in contact with Nathan Harris, who was um, kind of in our development office, and he offered me a position as his administration excuse me, his administrative assistant, and so I worked with him part time. And during the season, Julia was finishing up her full time nannying position, which was ending in August of the previous summer. So I was working with Nathan, and then kind of the August deadline was coming around. Began talking to him about potentially finding a full time position somewhere on campus, and to pay for school and be able to work on campus was kind of an ideal situation. I was hoping that would work out. Nothing quite panned out. Julia's position ended, and we made the decision that she was going to stay home with the boys. Really felt that the boys needed to have that connection with her pretty much 24/7 as much as we could, just to help with their development and whatnot. So we kind of just took the chance and trusted that the Lord would provide, knowing that the boys, even still to this day, are kind of our primary calling at this point, for ministry and just life in general. And started really to focus on Matthew 6:25. Just whether you eat or drink, just don't be concerned with what you have. Essentially, the Lord will provide. The birds don't sow, or they don't reap, but they eat. They're provided for. And that was something that kind of really just I thought through quite often. I fasted for about 2 months through October, or through August and September, just skipping lunch just to focus in prayer and just fast through that season, hoping that things were going to pan out. Had a job interview go almost 2 months. Was really looked like it was going to be how the Lord was going to work out at that point. In October, found out that I was a finalist but didn't get the position, which was kind of a big kick in the gut there. And then shortly later, I found out that Nathan had accepted the position as a professor and also administrator over at Cedarville. So my boss was leaving the seminary. He promised me that that the position would exist through December, and that after that he was hoping that it would stick around, but he couldn't really say much after. So I just continued on. We continued on, just hoping, knowing that the Lord would provide in some way at some point. But then at that point, we're living off of my 20-hour a week federal work study position. $12 an hour for 20 hours a week was what we were working off of there. So things were tight, but we just kept pressing on. And so that was the second kick in the gut, was Nathan leaving. He was a great boss, and someone who really made a lot of connections and really helped me grow in the short time I worked with him. But after he left, shortly before Thanksgiving, my a little bit of foreshadowing, Christiana, who I'm filling in for as she's leaving the seminary here, came to me and said that they were shifting positions around, and they were going to officially eliminate my position after the fall semester was over. So right before Thanksgiving, I kind of get hit with that confirmation that my position was going to also be leaving, or be eliminated. So so that was the final third kick in the gut. And at that point, I hadn't been applying for anything. I felt pretty strongly that we were just going to wait it out and see how doors would open or close. And so once that happened, I kind of figured, or it felt like doors were closed at the seminary, and it was time to kind of go outside my network and see what was there. And started applying for positions the week of like Thanksgiving break.
I remember that season at MBTS last fall, thinking about this position, that position, and what might open up, and praying with you about it. And I remember the day that you were told this is not going to happen, and you were looking elsewhere. And so you two have the common thread of November, December, getting told this is it. This run at this moment is over. And JC will come back to you in a moment. Pastor Jared, back to you. So you looking at various businesses in the home building and remodeling sphere. Not really interested in anything, nothing's popping. And then one did pop open, and you're still working that. Catch us up on that position.
Yeah, it's a sales and marketing position, selling into a local magazine. Actually, two different products. One is the Real Estate Book New Home Guide, and the other is Design KC, both in print as well as our digital offerings. One deals a little bit more with the real estate community specifically, and the other one is a true home design build content publication, both in print and online. And it really just marriages what the communities that I had worked with for years, that connections I already had for years, as well as leaning into my advertising, marketing, and sales experience. It was more of a natural fit, uh, if you will, and how the connection really made is. As I knew my tenure at the Kansas City Star was ending, I was getting the word out to people that I'd known for years, and getting the word out to various individuals, and two of them had recommended to my current employer, my current boss, two different people had said, you need to talk to this guy named Jared Webb. So his name is Keith, and he had received my name from two different people. So he said, maybe I should talk to this Jared Webb guy, and that's really how it went down. It was a lady I used to work with at the Star, who was in a marketing position now with a architecture firm that specializes in high-end residential architecture, and the other one was the marketing director at the Home Builders Association. Both of them had known that I was looking, and this particular gentleman, Keith, was looking for someone to fill a position. So he had gotten my name from two different people in the industry, and we connected, had breakfast, had a couple interviews, and yeah, the rest is history. He offered me a position. I said, it sounds good. Let's do it.
Love it. That does seem to be how the Lord works. There's no formulaic way that the sovereign of the universe operates, but there does seem to be patterns, and one of those is he uses contacts that we've already
Yep.
had
Mm-hmm.
in this kind of a situation. People that we already know.
Yeah.
Sometimes when someone loses their job, they feel extremely alone and isolated. One
Yeah.
point is to remember you're not. God knows the situation. Pastor Jared, as you mentioned, God knows you better than you do. And He has put people around you in your past who you'll connect with. Second, He uses your giftings, what He has done, that your desires, your abilities, just
Yeah.
your real estate desires, your familiarity. You're comfortable in that sphere. You have experience there, and so He uses that. And then third, just something pops open specific to you. These two different people contact Keith, your
Yeah.
current employer, and say you should talk to Jared.
Yeah.
And then it is just, well, this works. And JC, a similar situation with you in the jobs that you have had here. So catch us up. We're going to hop over two hurdles to get to your current moment of employment.
Yeah. So when I had that meeting or had that talk with Christiana to find out that my position was officially going to be nixed, um, one of my good friends that I was one of my bosses actually at the seminary, Camden, and I had several conversations, and I messaged him on Slack or kind of internal communications and said, "Hey, can I talk to you this afternoon about just kind of what's going on and get your opinion?" So I went and sat in his office, nearly in tears, saying, "Hey, like they just told me this position's going to go away. They're going to open a new one, but it's not guaranteed for me to get." And he just looked at me and goes, "You know, everyone's looking for people to hire right now." And he's like, "I guarantee you could go outside the seminary and find a job within a week, get good pay, get good benefits, and really like provide for your family in that way." And he goes, "Just stick around the seminary if you really want to find a job, long term." But he's like, right now, just I like encourage you to look outside. There's people hiring, and there's probably gonna give you good benefits and be able to take care of your boys well. And so with that, I kind of went home, started interviewing for a lot of things, trying to think through resume wise, being an associate pastor beforehand, being a greenskeeper, working in an ice rink. Like I've done a lot of random jobs and not really have a good career line lined up of to what's next or what can I do outside of this Christian world or higher ed even for that matter. So tangentially and kind of just adjacent skill sets to what I was doing was marketing. My mom is in marketing and kind of always been around that. So I decided to see what I could find marketing wise, and was scrolling through Indeed, found WNB, which is an architecture firm down in the River Market, and they were looking for a marketing coordinator to handle their digital collateral, as well as a few physical proposals and whatnot, websites, things like that. So I applied, got an interview later that week. Got to sit down with Brian and Craig, two great guys. Essentially like the equivalent of a mom and pop architecture firm. Three of the four guys who started it are still there working. Been there for 30 plus years. Had a really good interview. Felt like it went really well. It's always great when you leave an interview and one of the guys interviewing you goes, "That was a really good job." So I
Mm,
felt really good leaving. Yeah, Brian called me later that afternoon, just kind of wanted to confirm with me they were looking for someone who would be there for a little bit, timeline wise, and asked what future plans were. And at that point, felt like pretty good about the position. And I told him, I can't really promise you anything. I'm hoping for about 2 years. Outside of 2 years, I'm really up in the air. But 2 years might be just as much as I can say I could probably give you. Um, so I got a job offer to start in January. So I took the month of December off and just hung out with the boys and the family, and then started in January. and that went really well. I stayed in touch with Camden. Camden's actually been a mentor for me over the past few months, and uh, finished up school, graduated in May. Had coffee with Camden early June in the morning. Was just talking through things, and one of the things that we've been doing is just going through a list of questions that both of us have kind of just produced as to things that he wish he knew when he was my age, kind of, and things that I was questioning about what what's on my mind. And one of the questions was like how did he end up in the position that he was at the seminary, and just kind of how to process like future plans years away. So at that point, I was still thinking 2 years from now, I have this degree. Um, what do you think? Asking Camden, what do you think I would be good at? But also, kind of like, how did you think that through when you were graduating or finished with your MDiv? So we had a really good conversation about that and felt really encouraged leaving. Again, not thinking anything of it, not actively seeking out anything. And that afternoon, I had a conversation with two new architects that our firm hired, and they were talking and asking me like what my future plans were with after graduating. And told them earnestly, I'm sticking around for a while. Like we have nothing planned. I'm not looking for anything. The firm was treating us really well. They really liked us and cared about the boys and everyone. So we had no intentions of even looking at what was out there. And then I got a text message literally about 30 minutes after that conversation from Camden, saying there's something at the seminary that's going to be opening up here soon. Would you want some more information about it? And at that point, I figured part of the conversation he said was through the years, he's been encouraged just to take the first initial conversation, just to hear things out. Never, you're not guaranteeing anything with that. Just to hear out what opportunities are and see if that's something that the Lord's opening up doors or confirming that you're in the position that He has you in. So, well, let's use some of the advice that he gave me today and say, sure, let's see what this is about. He sent me a short job description, and kind of he was able to find some of um, the salary range and benefits just to make sure it was something that was similar to what I had at the architecture firm. Everything looked great, and the idea of coming back to the seminary was obviously pretty appealing. So that was probably June 7th or something. So a little more than a month and a half ago. Got in a conversation with Dr. Smith, who is now my boss. We're emailing back and forth. This was leading up to SBC, which was the big Southern Baptist Convention, which was in Anaheim this past month, and which is really just a crazy season for everyone, especially in institutions and in the Southern Baptist Convention, just setting up and having our events and things like that. So we were exchanging pages long emails of answering questions and things like that, going back and forth. He got back and scheduled an interview for 6 a.m. at a Panera over on Antioch. So I woke up extra early to go and have this 2 hour, ended up being about 2.5 hours worth of an interview. Left feeling really good about it. And the next day he sent me the offer letter, and we accepted pretty quickly. After 2 weeks of emailing back and forth, Julia and I had talked quite a bit about what it would look like, but accepted it. That Wednesday went and talked to the owners, the principals over at our firm, which was tough because going in knowing that I had told them 2 years, and I earnestly was sticking to that. But once I told them what the position was and it being in higher ed, which is something that I'm looking to continue in career wise, they all just kind of looked at me or through our conversations were saying, yeah, this is a no brainer. This is something that you need to do. Obviously they liked me a lot. And so just being able to see them as older guys saying, this is the right move for you and your family was kind of confirmation there. So that was a week and a half before July 4th. Finished everything up, had to type up all, the typical standard of procedures for whoever was going to follow up, and went to Philadelphia for July 4th weekend for my friend's wedding, and started on the 5th, a week and a half ago or so. And that's where I'm at now.
In the pattern that the Lord seems to employ, and He did with Pastor Jared, similar with you. People you knew, a skill set that you're already involved in, and then something pops open, and this person knows this person and mentions your name, and here's an opportunity. And what an important line of work at the school, the department that you're in, and just vital for what's happening. So it's fun to think about how the Lord has provided and worked for each of you in this sphere. And my hope in gathering you two together for this conversation is I had opportunities to walk through these transitions a bit with you. Pastor Jed, I remember in December you telling me about this, and we prayed and we talked, and what's going to happen here. And we kind of thought things through and pursued on. And JC, with the transition to the architecture firm, and then when this popped with MBTS, I was in Indonesia, but got back and heard, I think we had talked about it via email or text message or something while I was overseas, and got back and, okay, what's happening here? I want to get the inside scoop. And so very fun to hear about what the Lord has done. But this is encouragement for someone's going to listen to this 6 months from now, again, a few years from now, perhaps. And where am I at? What is going on here? God's not surprised. He knows you better than you do, and He will open doors, and He'll likely do that through people you already know. So reaching out to them is a good thing to do. You'll want to work your networks and rely on your skill set, your confidence, your past experiences. Hone up those skills, but be you, and trust God with it, and then wait on Him to connect some dots. He is working likely behind the scenes in ways you don't know, and this person knows this person knows this person, and then something's going to pop open, and this will often be the way that He works. So it's been fun to see this for you, brothers, and I'm grateful for the eternal now that we are in, and who knows what the future is for any of us, for what He would have. But we'll keep working our skills and our networks, and see where we're at. So guys, thanks for sharing your stories and taking this time to share with the MCC family.
Sure. You're welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, friends, until next time, may the Lord bless and keep you. I do want to say a special word of thanks to Alex Volkman for producing our podcasts, Pastor Adam Anderson and Caleb Sheffield for their musical introductions and conclusions. Until next time, the Lord bless and keep you.